we usually get a couple hundred people in here, and I can't always get to all the questions. So if you're getting in here early, you kind of have first dibs at asking questions here in the chat. This is a safe space. You can ask whatever questions about autism that you might have, and it's judgment free. But I do answer honestly. A little bit about myself. My name is Kylan. I live in Utah. I am the parent of 2 kids diagnosed with autism. I have a 3.5-year-old with autism, and I also have a nearly 2-year-old diagnosed with autism. And I am a board-certified behavior analyst. I've been working with people with autism and other disabilities since 2013. And most recently, I am the CEO of a company in Utah that provides services to people with autism. And so autism is my life. Something you should know about me is I am a fierce advocate for our kids with autism, but also for parents of kids with autism. I like discussions about support for neurodivergent adults. I don't think it's talked about enough. I agree. There's a lot of neurodivergent adults, and what's hard is that a lot of people didn't get diagnosed as a kid that should have. There's a lot of people who were missed. Maybe they were 2.5, 3 years old, and they would have been diagnosed today, but they did not get that diagnosis because the diagnostic criteria changed in 2013. In 2013, the diagnostic criteria changed. Happy Saturday, Melissa. Good to see you. Autism Family Travel, good to see you. Happy Saturday. Hello, everybody. As you're coming in, let me just give a little bit of an update about how things went last night. I did something crazy last night. I came on this live stream. Thank you for tapping on the screen, you guys. It really does help get it out to people. But last night I went live for a second time. I did another almost 2-hour live late at night. If you went to bed like a normal person at a decent hour, you probably missed it, but I was up, so I went live. And we saw some people. It was interesting. We talked a lot about vaccines not causing autism. We talked a lot about detoxing not being effective. And what's interesting is I made a video today from what we covered, and I found that TikTok doesn't like it very much. TikTok decided that they don't want to share my video about vaccines not causing autism. So if you check my profile, there is a video missing that I posted that it's not putting out there from our stream last night. Okay, Autism Family, we do date night every Friday. That is so good. That is way better and way more important than sitting on my live. So well done, Autism Family Travel. Hello Love says, RAN students who don't last 10 minutes before they start SIB in a gen ed class. What do you think? RAN students. Not quite sure what you're asking there, Hello. Maybe I'm misunderstanding something. Chelsea says, any tips to dealing with ASD, I'm guessing, in teenagers? She's so sensitive by things like change in tone. Yeah, that's tough. I'd want to learn more about your daughter, Chelsea. But there's a lot you can do, to support your child. Alima says, for example, noise was an issue, but now I notice my son holds his ears to block noise in places. Yeah, Alima, a lot of people with autism plug their ears or cover their ears to make the world a little quieter. The world is loud. The world is noisy, you guys, for people with autism. Have you heard of Fragile X syndrome? I have. EJ says, well done last night. I like fired up you. Guys, if you were here last night, you saw a different version of me that you don't usually see here in the mornings. And we'll see if that version of me comes back. But it was fun. I feel like I know quite a bit about vaccines, about detox, about effective treatments for and therapies for autism, ineffective therapies and supplements and things like that. And I kind of talked to people who disagreed with me, and it was interesting. Autism Family Travel says it took us a long time to get there to be able to do date nights every week. Didn't happen overnight. We had home and school ABA for many years. Yeah. Yes. I encourage everybody to be thinking of how do you get out and do like engage in meaningful relationships. So if you're married, go have a date night. If you want to go out with your friends, how do you have that happen? That's the first part of this autism journey for us autism parents is building a village. Senny says, what are the best states to move for autism resources? You know what? Anywhere in the United States is going to have decent services for people with autism. They all do allow for ABA and insurance-funded ABA. So it's also hard because I recommend staying where you are and advocating with your state. That's always my recommendation to people. Destiny, yes. Did you see the Destiny? I was live last night. You were probably sleeping like a decent human being who sleeps. But I went live late at night. She was on there. We had her come up and we talked to her about it. Uh, yeah, most people sleep, and I usually sleep too. But my daughter was up really late, and I was kind of worked up about things. I went on live to let some of my anger out, you guys. I think that's what it was. I went out, and you guys saw a different version of me last night. It was kind of fun. Uh, okay. Lights flashing through trees bothers me sometimes, so she tells me to pull my cap down, and that helps. Yeah, guys, people with autism, they feel like the world is all making noise at the same time, okay? It's loud, sensory overload. That is very common with autism, and doing things that block some of that sensory input can oftentimes help with people with autism. Yeah, Mom BB says my daughter has ADHD and autism, but sometimes she looks and acts normal. Yeah, I mean, there's no look to autism or ADHD, but I get what you're saying that she's not always maybe stimming or engaging in behaviors that look like autism. I got to say, I don't know if you feel this way, Mom BB, but do you get a lot of people that question her diagnosis? That's one thing that bothers me. I don't know. Have you guys had that happen before? Have you guys ever had a parent tell you something like, "Hey, your kid doesn't look autistic," and question the validity of your child's diagnosis? Kaylee, what kind of questions are people asking me? Anything about autism. You can ask about causes of autism. You can ask about how to support a child. Does your child have autism? This is a positive vibe space. Today we're being positive. Last night was not so positive of me, but typically my lives are positive. Uh, oh, Destiny, don't stress it. There's going to be lots of chances to see me. I don't want to flood your phone with notifications. I moved my office into my basement. And what that means is I have a little bit more flexibility now with when I can go live. And there may be times, like right now, I'm not into a good show. I love having a good TV show that me and my wife can go enjoy after kids go to bed. But we don't have a good show right now. And so when kids are in bed and I'm like, what should I do? I often think, I just want to go live. I want to go talk to my village, you guys. Joan says, what causes it? We know a lot about what causes autism. I can be very clear about what doesn't cause autism. We know fairly certainly, I want to clarify this. We know vaccines don't cause autism. Just as much as we know that water doesn't cause autism, we know vaccines doesn't cause autism. There have been so many studies, but what we do know that causes it is it's about 80 to 90% genetic. And so it's largely genetic. We know that from some twin studies that happen, but there's also environmental factors that can factor into this. Things that that can increase the likelihood of having autism. And those things can include things like parental age. So the older the mother and specifically the father is, increases the likelihood. We also know there's pollution that can pollution. To be clear, autism develops while the mother is pregnant, and so it's not something that develops as they're a little kid. Okay, and so the pollution one is interesting because it's not just any kind of pollution. It's specifically like emissions from vehicles that has been increased risk factor of autism. So I don't know. There's a bunch else. I'm sure we'll talk about more as you listen in. Katie says, someone told me my big eyes are because of my autism. Is that true? No, there's no physical features correlated with autism. Autism doesn't have a look. Now the way that people with autism may look at things, where the eye contact and things like that, but the way that your eyes look, absolutely not. Don't let that be an insecurity. You have nothing about you that looks like autism. A says, well, I think vaccines causes it. It doesn't. It absolutely doesn't. Do you have any evidence for that, A? I think it's important. If you come on my live and you make claims like that, you better have something to back it up. So I'll be looking for your reply. You think vaccines cause it? Let's hear your reasoning. The reason I address this is because when you start saying that vaccines cause it, or you start saying that Tylenol caused it, or you start saying it's the way the mother parented, that passes the blame onto the parents, and typically the blame onto the mother. And I am extremely protective over autism parents. Extremely protective. So you do not get to pass blame onto them, okay? I didn't see a reply yet. So that's okay. How do you know if a baby has it? Well, there's early signs, you guys. There's early signs. I'm curious, who is on here because you're an autism parent? If you're an autism parent, put 1 in the chat. I want to know. If you're an autism parent, let's see who's here that's an autism parent. If you have autism, if you're diagnosed with autism, put 2 in the chat. And then if you're here to just learn about autism, or you don't have a connection to autism necessarily, put 3 in the chat. Let's see. We see a lot of 1s, lots of 2s. Let's see if there's any 3s. 3 is fascinating to me. I'm so grateful that we have 3s in here. You guys, again, this is no judgment. I can question. I mean, you guys may say something that I disagree with, and I'm going to address it. But that doesn't mean that I'm judging. There's a lot of misunderstanding about autism. There's a lot of misunderstanding about vaccines, about what it's like to have a child with autism. And so I love having you guys here. And, Anna says 3, but I'm pretty sure I have autism. Great. Thank you for being here, you guys. I go live every day. Usually it's only about 2 hours. Yesterday was wild. I did my normal 2-hour live in the morning, like I am right now. But then late at night, I started getting kind of angry about things. I wanted to be a fierce advocate. And so I got on live and I started bringing people up who disagreed with me. People who think vaccines cause autism. And we started having real discussions and good discussions. I wanted to hear people out. And that was kind of fun. But really, this is meant to be a positive vibes only space. So if you were there last time and you hated it, feel free to DM me your thoughts on it. If you hated it, let me know. If you loved it, I also want to know, because I want to be a voice. Okay, us autism parents, we need a voice, and there's a lot of people who want to critique people who have children with autism. Snowflake, thank you for the hand hearts. My goodness, that is too kind. Let's see here. Britt says, my son has Gestalt learning. How do I remove that or navigate that? Britt, that is so common with autism. For people who don't know, Gestalt language processing is a description of how some kids learn language. Think of it as if you're building language and it's like building Legos. Most babies, you give one piece of Lego at a time and they build a house out of Legos. With Gestalt language processing, you give them the whole house of Legos and they're taking it apart to dissect and learn. And so it's kind of an opposite way of typical of how to learn language, where they may start repeating full phrases before fully understand what that phrase means. So if you have that, that's called Gestalt language processing, and it's very common with autism. Not everyone with autism has it, but it's also not exclusive to autism. Tiffany is an autism sibling. I love autism siblings. For my autism parents, and you have another child who is an autism sibling, put sibling in the chat. I want to know who here has an autism sibling in their home, because I think we don't talk about that enough, how incredible autism siblings are. Autism siblings are the most incredible people on the planet. Let me tell you about my son, my 10-year-old son. Look at all these people saying sibling. There's a lot of siblings out there, and so you might relate to this. My 10-year-old came home the other day, and he's very involved in I have 4 kids, okay? My youngest 2 have autism. My oldest 2 are not diagnosed with autism. My oldest, he's very involved with autism. He helps take care of his kids, and we talk about autism openly in our home. And he came home from school one day, and he said, "Dad, guess what? I made a new friend, and he has autism." And he looked so happy, so excited. He was so pumped that he had this shared connection with someone, and there was zero judgment. There was only love and excitement about having someone similar to his brother that he had met. That is the kind of people that we are raising, people who get excited to meet people who have differences, people who may have disabilities. And so our autism siblings are amazing. Autism siblings are so good. So if you only have one kid and they have autism and you're worried about having another kid, I want you to know that siblings of kids with autism grow up to become the most kind, the most inclusive, and welcoming human beings on the planet. Querity says, "Do you think autistic people can still communicate and want connection?" What a good question. Yes, absolutely. And that connection can look very differently. Most kids show affection by, physical contact and talking, telling you that they love you. You got to learn how your child with autism shows their love for you. The way that my son, my 3.5-year-old, shows me that he loves me is he randomly comes up to me and puts his forehead on my forehead like this, and we put pressure and we kind of rub heads, and he just has a big smile while he does that. And every time he does that, he never tells me I love you in those words, but when he does that, I know that he loves me. And so you kind of got to understand. Also, a lot of people with autism do fully communicate. Some struggle, there are communication barriers, but the vast majority are able to communicate. All right, you guys, what other questions do we have? Let's keep these conversations going. G5 says, "Are there things we still might not know about autism?" Yes, guys, we are learning new things about autism all the time. Look, the autism as we know it today is only 13 years old. What do I mean by that? Well, in 2013, the diagnosis for autism dramatically changed. Autism used to only include profound autism cases, where it was kind of the most severe of situations. In 2013, that changed to encompass the full spectrum, including what was previously called Asperger's and more moderate type challenges. And so there's a lot that we don't know, and a lot can change and develop. But there is a lot that we do know. One of the things that people often say is we have no idea how people get autism, and I think it's this, and I think it's that. We know what causes autism. We know so much about what causes autism. We don't know every little detail, but there's so much that we know about it. Chelsea says, can you get specific therapy for help with rejection sensitivity dysphoria? Chelsea, I am not equipped to talk about that. I don't know. I wish I did. You guys, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm not afraid to say when I don't know something. There's a lot that I don't know. There's a lot that I do know. Okay, there is a lot. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I have 2 kids with autism, 3.5-year-old and almost 2-year-old, and I am the biggest advocate for them that you will ever see. Okay, I will move mountains for them. I have started businesses for them. I have quit jobs for them. I have done everything for my kids. I am the biggest advocate for my children. But I've worked with kids with autism for over a decade, and I'm a board certified behavior analyst. And currently, I'm the CEO of a company in Utah that provides services to people with autism. However, I am here not as a representative of my company. I'm not here as a BCBA. I'm here because I need a village, and you guys are my village. When you're on an autism journey, if you have a family member, if you have autism, the autism journey is challenging. And the very first thing I recommend to people is build your village. Get a village. You guys are part of my village, and let me be part of yours. I go live every single day to build this village, to have more people that can support me and allow me to support them. So please be a part of this village, you guys. Someone says, okay, I can't afford ABA therapy. Would speech and occupational therapy work good together? Lamera, let me tell you a little secret. I need to tell you a secret. If you guys have concerns about affording ABA, I'm going to tell you something your ABA company doesn't want you to know. They desperately want you to have services with them. And the amount that you have to pay, your portion, even if it's $6,000 is your out-of-pocket max, that is a very small amount that that company is set to receive from the insurance company. Patient responsibility, what you have to actually pay them, is a very small amount. And so they're not going to upfront tell you this, but if you go and you ask your ABA therapy company and you say, hey, what financial aid programs do you have? They're first going to say, oh, we can set you up with a payment plan. What I want you to say is, no, I don't know that I can afford a payment plan. Having a child with disability is extremely expensive, and I don't have the money to be paying you on a regular basis. Do you have financial aid that I can apply for? And by law, if they give financial aid to anybody, they have to have a system in place that approves it for everybody. And so most ABA companies are going to give you financial aid, and it's often pretty generous. And so please ask your ABA company about financial aid before you pay them. Please do. Fern says, what is something you think every RBT should know? I just passed my final exam. Fern, congratulations. Thanks for being a part of this field. Thanks for working with people with autism. RBT is a great job. It's a great career. And congratulations on passing the exam. What I want you to know is, even though you passed the exam, your learning is just beginning. The most important shifts that you are ever going to work is when your BCBA is going to be with you. So if you're an RBT, what I'm going to tell you is demand high quality supervision. If your BCBA just tends to sit there and watch you and doesn't train you, that is not okay. Demand high quality supervision. Do it for you professionally, but more so do it for the kid. The kid needs high quality supports. Law says, how can I help my client with his stimming? It's really hard. He talks but does not converse. I do ABA. Well, let me tell you this. I think we need to make sure that we are not addressing ABA, or we are not addressing stimming just to address stimming. Okay, that is one of the reasons a lot of people don't like ABA therapy, is this idea that all we're going to do is address stimming and making them look normal. Now, if stimming is harming them or harming others, we need to address it. But if they're hand flapping, if they're just spinning, if they're doing things and it's helping them regulate, we don't need to address it. So my answer to you is decide if it's even something to address. Let's see. Nobody says, I'm too scared to send my child to ABA, but the insurance is forcing it. Why would insurance force you to do ABA? I don't understand. In most situations, insurance does everything they can to not pay for autism therapy. And so you can't be forced to do it. I will say that if you're nervous about it, let me know a little bit more specifically about what you're nervous about, and I'd love to address some of those concerns to maybe ease your mind a little bit. All right, everybody. Whitney says, is it better to do more ABA therapy hours in the beginning if we are just starting out? So my approach with my own children is the moment they got their diagnosis, I said, I want to do as many hours as I can. And I told the company that does it, I am open these hours and I want as many hours as you can do. And they filled up the hours. And what you're going to want to know, though, is like, it's a big transition for your kid. Is there a problem with that? Are they going to struggle with it? Most kids that I see, if ABA is done well, they love it. It is not something they hate. It is not something they fear. They love it. All right, you guys. Jeff says, because ABA has positioned itself as the only legitimate treatment despite being awful. Oh, Jeff, I'm curious why you think it's awful. Oh, I don't like to hear that. It has a rough history a little bit. I mean, people over-focusing on compliance and masking. But ABA done well. I mean, I have seen it change lives. It has changed my son's life. It has changed my son's life. In general, if a kid loves something, I wonder if that is what helps. Oh, it helps so much. If a kid enjoys something, here's how learning happens. Learning happens because of motivation. If there's motivation, then you can teach language, you can teach communication, you can teach skills. If there's no motivation or motivation to leave, then you're not going to get the skill acquisition. And so there is something to that you need the child to enjoy it. All right, everybody. If you are new here, I'm curious how many people are just discovering me. Who am I showing up on their For You page for the first time? Put FYP in the chat if this is your first time being here. If I just showed up on your For You page, FYP in the chat. Everybody else, be tapping that screen. We have 5,000 likes already. I think we can get that a little bit higher. Oh my goodness, look at all these people. For You page, lots of For You page. Oh my goodness, there's a lot of people here. So I go live every day. Make sure you're following me so that you can see when I go live. We are just getting started today. We are 30 minutes in and we can talk about anything with autism. This is a safe space for autism parents. If you are an autism parent, this is a safe space for you. If you just want to learn about autism and you genuinely want to learn, you are in the right spot. Now I wanna talk to you guys. Let's look at some of these questions. We got a lot going on. Thoughts on telehealth BCBAs? That's the situation I'm currently in. Fern, I need to tell you something. Who here, if you have ABA therapy or your child has ABA therapy, I want you to if you get telehealth supervision from a BCBA, put telehealth in the chat. I want to know, do you get telehealth? Do you get telehealth from the BCBA? Put telehealth in the chat. And I'm curious about this because I have serious concerns with it. There are real benefits to it, okay? But there are real concerns as well. Here is how the model of ABA therapy. If you don't know, ABA therapy can pay for up to 40 hours of therapy for a kid with autism per week. 40 hours per week. Now it does that because it doesn't have the professional, the master's degree level clinician working with your kid very much. It is a technician who has to be 18 years old. Usually they just graduated from high school and they just have a few hours of training under their belt. They don't know always what they're doing. And so the key here is that supervision piece. The clinician, the BCBA, board certified behavior analyst, has to they have to observe about 10% of the sessions and train the RBT. Now, there's a new trend happening that's getting more and more popular. BCBAs don't want to go in person. They want to keep their pajamas on and sit in their house and do supervision remotely. Now, on occasion, that can be totally fine, as long as it's not every time. If it's on occasion, they're remote. So what? That's fine. That's great. But really, they need to be in person to do high quality supervision, to train the RBT, to show them what to do. I've seen it way too many times that the BCBA sits during a session for 3 hours and says no words during those 3 hours. And what a detriment to the services for your kid if that's happening. Demand better. Demand better from your provider. If you are getting telehealth only, you need to go and ask if there's an option to be able to get in-person supervision. Autism Family Travel says, how often are parents included in ABA goal planning? Okay, so in ABA therapy, you have to redo the goals every 6 months. And when you're redoing the goals, the parent should be included. Now, a lot of the goals are set based on the results of the assessment. And so as a parent, you may have priorities and you should voice those, but you should also acknowledge the results of the assessment and trust the process, because sometimes one skill is a prerequisite to another skill that you want them to have. So, how old were you when you got diagnosed? This is a good clarification. So, I see how this is a little bit misleading. To clarify, I do not have autism as far as I know. But I am very involved in this work, in this life. I have 2 kids with autism. I know it's genetic, and so who knows? Maybe I do have autism, but I have never been evaluated for it, and I don't suspect that I have it. But good clarification there. How long is an evaluation supposed to last? It depends which evaluation you're talking about. If you're talking about the general autism evaluation, usually it's done in 2 parts. The first part is a pre-evaluation where they, meet with you for an hour and ask you all the questions about your kid. And then the next is maybe 1 to 2 hours of an in-person observation of your kid. And then usually 2 or 3 weeks after that, you get the results of the evaluation. Marchie says, my daughter outgrew it. Outgrew what? Autism? Your daughter outgrew autism? Is that what you're saying, Marchie? You don't outgrow autism, but you can grow within autism and not have the same struggles. So maybe that's what you're talking about. All right, you guys, keep these questions going. We got some good questions here. Let's see here. Did you become a BCBA before or after children's diagnosis? So I was a BCBA way before, okay? Way before my children's diagnosis. My kids got diagnosed. My first kid was diagnosed just a year and a half ago. And so this is fairly new, but I'm a pretty veteran BCBA. Been around for a long time, been working with people people with autism since 2013. Yeah. You have to get a second autism diagnosis if you move states. Not typically. No, it's not usually state-based. There are insurances, though, that require every few years that you get a new evaluation. Oh, Lexi, how important is ABA while child is in school? This is a good question. You guys, I get this question a lot of, should we just do ABA therapy, or should we go to school, or should we get ABA therapy in school? There's a lot of choices there. Let me tell you my thoughts. If your kid is 2, 3, 4, 5 years old and not yet communicating and have serious struggles with autism, your child needs support. Your child needs support. And my recommendation to families is have your IEP and see what services the school has to offer. For my son, they're able to offer one-on-one aid, and they're all trained in ABA therapy. And so it's every day he gets picked up from a school bus, so transportation is taken care of. It's 15 hours a week, and it's amazing. It's so good. And in that situation, absolutely do that. However, if your IEP says that, hey, you're going to be in a classroom, there's going to be 10 kids and only one teacher and one aide, I would do ABA therapy. Absolutely. So I guess my recommendation is first see what your services in school are, but what you really need to focus on is early intervention is key here. If you are under the age of 5 and you're just starting this process out, like really focus on the most intensive services to help your kid catch up and grow as much as possible. All right, you guys. What is ABA? That's applied behavior analysis. It's one of the frontline therapies that is typically recommended for someone with autism. Gigi says, how early can you get diagnosed? So technically, the ADOS, which is the autism evaluation tool that most clinicians use, can be done as early as 12 months. It is rare to be able to find a psychologist willing to diagnose your child at 12 months. However, most say about 18 months is the earliest that they will do. But if you have serious concerns and they're over the age of 12 months, you start getting on wait lists, because it could take you 6 months before you could get on the wait list. And early intervention, early diagnosis is key here. Breezy says, my 5-year-old is in ABA and kindergarten, want to introduce OT. Would all three be too overwhelming for him? Breezy, I don't think so. Usually occupational therapy is only 1 hour a week or so. It's not as involved as ABA therapy typically. And so a lot of questions come up. When do you do ABA? When do you do OT? When do you do speech? And a good rule of thumb is ABA gives you the most hours. It's the most intensive service. You can get up to 40 hours a week. But speech, they are way better equipped and trained to work on communication. And so even though it's only an hour a week, that can be a very valuable part of your care team that you're building. Occupational therapy, they are really skilled and trained on sensory issues and addressing sensory needs of your kids. So if your kid has a lot of sensory needs, getting that hour a week of occupational therapy could be a game changer. I find the best when you have an OT, you have a speech therapist, and they're coordinating with your ABA therapy. So everyone's working on shared goals and you have this really cohesive team working together. All right. Christian, thanks for being here. No worries. Carly says, have you started using the pool at your clinic? Okay, so we used it for a long time, and then we had a roof leak happen. And so right now it's under construction for probably the next month or so. So we're pausing pool activities. But for those of you that don't know, or if you're new here, I am the CEO of a company that does autism services. And we know that with autism, with kids, the leading cause of unaliving for a child with autism is drowning. They are 160 times more likely to drown than their neurotypical peer. If that doesn't make your heart sink, I don't know what will. As an autism parent, I'm terrified. Water is terrifying. Your child eloping and running away and water do not mix well together. And so as I'm leading this ABA company, I've been thinking, like, what is the biggest impact that we can leave on this world, that we can leave on the kids that we're working with? And we decided to purchase a clinic. One of our clinics has an indoor swimming pool in a separate locked room, and we hired the best adaptive swim teachers we could find, and we've started to include water safety into our therapy programs, and it has been amazing. It is so important. I'm in Utah. That clinic's in Ogden, but we're all over Utah. Let's see. Lacey says, yes, definitely the biggest thing in the world. We can't even go to a park with a pond. This is something that parents of neurotypical kids aren't going to understand, because most kids reference the parent as the safe place, and they don't wander too far from the parent. Kids with autism, they're just going to go. They run and they get in the water. Aston says, yes, I have an eloper and it's terrifying. That I see it in the news almost every day. Another child eloped and is lost. And if there's something that I can do to have an impact in this world, I hope it's saving at least one life as far as the drowning stuff goes. So that's a big passion of mine. We're actually in the next month or so, I'm gonna be holding an event where I have a professional adaptive swim trainer who's going to do a free live stream about how to promote safe swim practices and water safety skills. Lai says, "What's an eloper?" So once you're in the autism community, you hear this word a lot: elopement. And we're not talking about running away to get married. Elopement just refers to running away or wandering. And so a lot of kids with autism, they don't stay put. They go, they wander, and they don't try to stay near their parents. They'll just go. And so that's one of the hardest parts of being an autism parent is the constant vigilance of your child. Most parents can go to the park and sit on the bench and play on their phone while their kids play at the park. It's not a thing for autism parents. They have to be so involved and constantly monitoring their child. Thoughts on leucovorin for speech? I'm really curious here. Do we have anyone here whose kids are on leucovorin? Put yes in the chat if your child is on leucovorin, and no judgment from me. I'm going to share my thoughts on it, but no judgment at all. I'm just curious. Put yes in the chat if your kid's on leucovorin. It's not one of those things that's like I have some mixed feelings on it. We have a few people in here that their kid is on leucovorin. Let me tell you a little bit about leucovorin. So leucovorin has been started being studied for a while now. There's about 5 randomized clinical trials with leucovorin. And about 6 months ago or so, after the largest one was published with really positive results, we saw the press conference with Donald Trump and RFK Jr. And at that press conference, they announced that they were pushing to promote more access to leucovorin and propose that as a treatment for autism. Now, since that has happened, leucovorin has gained a lot of popularity, and understandably, according to that data, it's really exciting. It's still in early stages. Unfortunately, about 2 weeks ago, that main study with the positive results was retracted due to inaccurate data that they presented. And so with all these things considered, leucovorin is still in the very early stages of research. There are potential side effects as well with leucovorin, which can include heightened anxiety and an increase in problem behaviors while you're on it, especially if your dosing isn't correct. There's a lot that we don't know about dosing. There's a lot that we don't know about who most benefits from it, and the data so far has been somewhat mixed. So for me, I have not yet decided to use leucovorin with my children, and I don't put that as a recommendation to parents. It's one of those things that I would recommend, and I probably would participate in a clinical trial, so I could be part of helping push the studies forward, but not something that I am convinced yet that there's sufficient data that the benefits outweigh the risk. So that's where we are. And the post Patricia says, what about folinic acid? Leucovorin is folinic acid. That is what people talk about when they say folinic acid, not to be confused with folic acid, which is a different treatment. Here's where I stand on things is there is too much. People demand too much from autism parents. The moment you get a diagnosis, you become bombarded with advice from other people of all the different things that you need to do for your child. Autism parents, our resources are spread thin. Our time is filled. You probably had to quit your job to help take care of your autistic child. You had to You had to sacrifice income and pay for expensive therapies. And so I am extremely protective of autism parents' time, resources, and money. And so it is very rare that you ever hear me recommend any kind of supplement or, new treatment that is like breakthrough that you should all try, because sticking to the basics is what your kid needs. And I see it too often that trying all these new fancy things and miracle cures kind of reduces the likelihood that you are going to do the basics to take care of yourself. So, all right, you guys, let's keep looking at some questions. Kristen says there's no cure. Yeah. Yeah, autism is not something that needs to be cured. It can't be cured, but it also doesn't need to be cured because it's not a disease. I use this analogy a lot, but people say like, hey, we are going to reverse autism or we are going to cure autism. I think most people don't say cure autism. Most people say reverse autism. And I don't like that either. Because can you imagine saying that about your infant? Could you imagine saying, hey, my infant doesn't talk, doesn't communicate. We really need to reverse infancy. We really need to cure infancy in my baby. Like, that doesn't make sense. Autistic kids, their brains are wired differently, and their development and the direction that they go can be different. But you don't reverse it. You don't cure it. You simply support it, and you grow, and you develop, and you learn. QM says, are autism people smart? So autism is not necessarily an intellectual disability, meaning it's not necessarily tied to intelligence. I find the autistic brain fascinating. The way that it can see patterns and routine and pay attention to things that other people ignore, I think is really neat and fascinating. Yeah, Autism Family says my son carries mild intellectual developmental disability as a diagnosis. Yeah, it's a separate diagnosis, you guys. Intellectual disability is a separate diagnosis. Connie says my little brother is autistic and his speech is delayed, but we know he's verbal. Do you have any advice? Connie, there is so much advice, but the first thing I want to say is thank you for being a good sibling. This is what I'm talking about, you guys. This is a sibling who is coming onto this live asking advice for her brother. Beautiful. Beautiful, Connie. Thank you. Thank you for being part of your brother's village. And all I can say to you is keep being there for your brother. His voice will come. His voice will come. And you're doing a lot. Thank you for being there for him. Okay, what other questions do we have? Let's keep on looking here. What about detox? Okay, what is the situation with detox, you guys? And again, I'm going to preface this by saying this is not me trying to be insensitive. This is not me trying to be controversial at all. But it's going to be me trying to give you practical advice to be protective over your time and money. Detox in autism is a scam. You cannot detox from autism. Now, if by detox you're referring to improving GI issues, that maybe your child has constipation or gut issues that require healthy supplements that you work with the doctor on getting. That is one thing, and that can be amazing. Like, gut health is important, but autism is not caused by heavy metals. It is not caused by toxins, and there has been This has been researched extensively, and no detox therapy or treatment has ever been found to improve symptoms of autism. I've done the research. If you guys go and look in my bio, there's a link called references. Let me make sure that's turned on, you guys. Can you see the references? Can someone check that in my link tree? Can you see the references in my link tree? Let's see here. Destiny, good to see you here. Gut health does not correlate to stimming, speech delay, SPD, etc. Yep, you're spot on. Okay, it's there. Okay, guys, go to the references in my link tree. And I talk about this. I have, so I use, to put together references, you can't use ChatGPT, okay? If you're trying to research something, ChatGPT validates whatever you want to hear. ChatGPT is a yes man. I use Cite.ai, which is, it's kind of like ChatGPT, but it's only for like peer-reviewed research articles and summarizing and compiling data. And so a lot of those references, I used help from Cite.ai, and it's very thorough on the research. I put a too long don't read above each one, and then a very thorough research analysis. And it is like, yeah, it's very clear. Detox does not address autism symptoms. And people who are selling it to you, if people are saying how much detox has changed their child and improved their child, look at their bio and their links in their bio, because they are trying to sell you something. Oh my goodness, what was that? Jolly the Joy? Are you kidding me? Holy cow, Breezy, thank you. Was that Breezy? Yeah, holy cow, that was cool. Let's see. Kiz says, does gut absorption affect brain development? In general, there are connections to the gut and the brain. However, there is no evidence that gut health or the gut-brain axis theory is valid as it relates to the cause of autism. Ben Flacco, this is kind of my podcast. I don't really have a podcast. It's just this live. I go live every day, you guys. So if you're just tuning in, I am a autism advocate, and I go live every day for a couple hours, and we answer questions. And I'm the CEO at a company that does autism services. I'm an autism parent. I got 2 kids with autism, and I'm a board certified behavior analyst. I've been working with people with autism for over a decade. So I love being here. I go live every day. Make sure you're following so you can see when I go live. I'm also live on YouTube right now. You can go over there and subscribe there. Destiny says, due to Hudson's therapy, and they denied me the job because of that. Oh my gosh. Look, guys, it's no joke that being an autism parent takes a toll on you as a parent, and it takes a toll on our ability to make money and to save money. And that's a real impact of having a child with autism or disabilities. Let's see here. What other questions do we have? Elizabeth says, what job do I get if everyone at work immediately hates me because of autism? I'm so sorry. You deserve better than that. If you have autism and you're looking for work, I have some recommendations for you. The first one is, during the hiring process, do not disclose that you have autism. Legally, people are not able to discriminate based on disability. They're not allowed to ask you about disabilities in the hiring process. And all they can ask you is about your ability to do the job. And so do not disclose that you have autism, because the moment you do, even though they legally are not allowed to, they will discriminate against you. Do not disclose that you have autism in a job interview. However, once you are working there, if you notice that there are accommodations that you need to be successful at that work, go meet with HR in private. Explain that you know your rights, that under ADA, that you are entitled to reasonable accommodations, and work with them on giving you those reasonable accommodations. This isn't about getting a leg up or anything like that. This is about leveling the playing field so that you can have the support you need to be successful. They cannot fire you. They cannot mistreat you due to your autism. Hannah says, have you found any links between autism and the MTHFR gene mutation? Okay, the MTHFR gene mutation is a very common gene mutation. And there's some misinformation here because we know autism is genetic. And so we know autism is genetic, and then you hear this MTHFR gene mutation thing, and there's some confusion about how MTHFR actually plays into autism. You should know there's no evidence that people with autism are more likely to have the MTHFR gene mutation. The MTHFR gene mutation is a variant that impacts about 30 to 40% of the population. And it is not something. It is extremely common, and it can indicate that you may have some slight variations in your dietary needs, but it's not extremely significant. Just something that some people like to be aware of. But what it doesn't mean, what you get sold to, the story that you hear is, hey, if you have a child with autism, you need to go do the MTHFR test. And then I have all of this methylated supplements for you to make up the difference. They're gonna say words that you don't understand. They're gonna bring fear out of you, and they're going to try to make you feel like you are neglecting your child if you don't spend hundreds of dollars every month on supplements for them. And so I do not. I think if you are interested in the MTHFR gene mutation, you should go and get tested. That's great. And look at the evidence of what that means. But it is not just because of autism that you would look at that. Cool Bean says you should take meditation. It's meant to help. Meditation is great. Yeah. Autism Family says, we never did supplements with our son. What works is supports and services. Yeah. I mean, I'm not opposed to all supplements. I mean, if you work with your doctor and there's something unique about your child or your situation, there can be times that you need supplements. For example, if you need to work on sleep with your kid, your pediatrician may recommend magnesium or melatonin to help with sleep. Now, that's not the same as someone on TikTok coming on and saying, I know how to reverse autism. It's with these supplements. You need to do this gene test, and then you can get all these methylated whatever. That's different. Like there are going to be supplements and vitamins and things like that are helpful for your child as you work with your pediatrician. But there is no established medication, vitamin, or supplement that is widely or should be widely recommended or prescribed simply because your child has autism. What are your thoughts about skills-based treatment? I see you, Kiwi. I see you talking about that. I'm not quite sure what you mean. A lot of ABA therapy, occupational therapy, focus on skills-based treatment. I love it because problem behavior occurs when skills are lacking, when they are not able to get the thing that they are looking for in an appropriate way. So teaching a skill to replace that is very effective. Let's see here. Brendels, what are your thoughts about ABA therapy? Well, I hear people's concerns about ABA therapy, and I think they're very valid. But those concerns, here are the two main concerns that you hear about ABA therapy. The first is you hear that ABA therapy is traumatic because they teach you to mask your autism. Now, there is some truth to this. 10, 15 years ago, ABA very heavily focused on making a child look more normal, feel more normal, stop stimming, stop spinning, all of that. And they shouldn't have done that. There is evidence to suggest that when you reinforce masking, it can be detrimental to your child. And so there's good reason for that. The second thing people have concerns with is the overfocus on compliance-based treatment. That it's all about making your child obey. And it's one of those you have to keep your eye on. I heard the other day a parent tell me that that their child was told in ABA that they're not allowed to say no to an adult. And that is the perfect example of what we, yeah. Anyway, Destiny, I see your question, play-based versus traditional. That kind of plays into this with the compliance stuff that I'm talking about. We do not want compliance-based ABA. Keep your eye out for it. If they're asking you to not say no to an adult, if they're making you sit at a table for long amounts of time, that's a red flag. Play-based ABA versus traditional ABA. Okay, I'm going to be honest with you. There's a lot of crap ABA that goes on, and they do it in the name of play-based ABA. Let me break this down because it sounds controversial. It's not. It's going to make sense, I promise. So ABA therapy is recommended for most kids with autism, especially early on as early intervention. Traditional ABA refers to things like discrete trials where you're sitting at a table for long amounts of time, and it's not age appropriate for a lot of 2 or 3 year olds. You shouldn't be sitting at a table for hours. You should be playing. You should be engaging in the environment. And so the field has morphed into play-based. Most providers say that they do play-based. And you have 2 directions that you go. To truly do play-based, it is a step up from traditional ABA. It is difficult because not only are you playing, but you have to arrange the toys and motivation in a way that lets you still get your trials in and still work with the child. And so it is extremely challenging, and it takes more effort and more work than traditional ABA. What a lot of people do is they just play with your kid and call it ABA. They don't work on targets. They don't work on goals. They say we're play-based, we're neuroaffirming, and they just sit and play with your kid. And if that's what's happening, that is not good ABA. So true play-based is amazing. That's what it should be. That's age appropriate for most kids. But the way that a lot of play-based ABA happens, I'm not a fan of. Okay. All right, everybody. How do I deal with skills regression as a late diagnosed autism ADHD? I'm currently not working from burnout. Sploot, do you have a therapist? You need a therapist. You need someone who knows autism and that you can go and meet with on a regular basis. Yeah. I don't know enough about your situation to give you really meaningful advice, but you definitely need a therapist who knows autism. Pink says, I hate when parents just go to a regular daycare and expect them to know how to deal with autism. Yeah, that can be hard, but like, what other options are there, you know? Like, what does a parent do? What does a parent do? Like, they need daycare too. And like, there are so many hidden costs to having a kid with disabilities. So I really feel for it. It's a hard situation. Oh, Carissa says, my 3-year-old nephew is being diagnosed. Advice on preparation for dentist appointments in the future. Yeah, every kid with autism is different, and some kids with autism do great at the dentist. If you have concerns with how it's going to go, you need to call in advance and express what those concerns are for you. And again, this is your nephew. Carissa, again, we have an amazing village, an example of a village here. Carissa is an aunt who is asking questions about her nephew. Again, autism parents, we all want a Carissa in our life. We all want aunts who are going on lives asking questions for us to learn about autism for our child. Thank you, Carissa, for being a meaningful member of your child's village. Amazing. A lot of kids with autism, they end up having to have medications or, go under sedation to have dental care done. A lot of people say, oh, for dental care, that's not worth the risk. Dental care is so important. I mean, if your kid has tooth pain, that's going to impact their entire life. Chloe, my son was just diagnosed last week, level 2. Wow. Okay, let me. My biggest struggle is leaving him with anyone. Chloe, you are brand new to this village. You are brand new to this journey. You are brand new. Chloe, if you don't have to, but I sent you an invite. I bring people up sometimes if they have questions, but also I love just talking to people. Chloe, where are you calling in from? Where are you at?
Hey, I am in South Carolina.
You're in South Carolina. That's great.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about what led to you going and getting a diagnosis for your kid.
So my son is young. He is only 2 years old. Young 2 years old. He just turned 2 in December. And I noticed I have two other kids. He is my,
Yeah.
my third born. I have two other kids. They're both girls. So he was my first son. And I noticed, I did the whole parent or children comparison thing, which they tell you never to do, right? They always say never compare your kids and their growth and them hitting their milestones. But of course, as parents, when you have multiple kids, that's just something that you tend to do.
Well, I don't
Um,
disagree with that. You absolutely should to see if there's concerns with your kid. Like you did that, and it led to you knowing that your kid had autism.
right, right. And I knew, it was one of those things where it was kind of just a mom's gut because he was not meeting a lot of milestones, whether it be his language development. And then I started noticing, even as early as 10 months old, sensory things, wanting to
Yeah.
fit into small spaces or doing the repetitious behaviors where he would do things like going to bed, putting his head on a pillow. He would hit his head up against the pillow multiple times.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of little things that I noticed. And I did a course that the first fear was autism, right?
Of
In my
course.
mind, I was like, okay, I think that he may have autism. And my husband, who just so happens to have ADHD, but also has a brother who is autistic,
Yeah.
um, was kind of more so in denial. Like he was like, oh, I don't think he's autistic. I just think that, maybe he's delayed. And again, I'm a stay at home mom, spend a lot of time with him, and just notice, like I said, all of these sensory things, him not developing in his language as far as being able to talk. Even now, he probably says about, I don't know, 5 words or so. And so I early on, as soon as possible, when he was about, I'd say 15 months, we started with occupational therapy and speech therapy. So we jumped on that as soon as possible, not even knowing if this was necessarily autism. I just knew that he was delayed. So I was like,
Yeah.
let's figure out what we can do as soon as
Let
possible.
me let me ask you this: getting the diagnosis and the moment did they tell you the same day as the evaluation?
Yes.
How was
Yes.
that? How was it hearing that your son
Oh, it
was
was
diagnosed with autism?
it was a mixture of emotions because it was, for me, it was definitely, it was a relief because it was something that had been on my mind for a long time, and the whole what is this, what's going on, is this what it is? So it was relief, and then at the same time I did absolutely break down and cry like a baby
Yeah.
because my first concern, I think people get confused when as a parent of a child who was autistic, and they're like, oh, it was really like, it was this burst of emotions. I cried, and people are like, oh, well, why? Because your child has something wrong with them. And for me, it was more so, I felt like, how was this going to affect his life?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it
Not
made
not
it.
that there's something wrong with him, but
Yeah.
people in the world are crappy, right? People are
Yeah.
crappy. So it's like dealing with the outside world and then also dealing with the struggles that he may have to endure.
Look, though, how you felt is describes perfectly how I felt as well when my son was diagnosed, and yeah, it was the. I mean, what does this mean for his future? Is he going to need supports the rest of his life? Is he going to
Right.
like? Am I ever going to hear his voice? Are we ever going to be able to communicate together? And
Right.
a lot of questions of the future, and I had those questions before, but seeing the diagnosis made those questions a little bit more impactful and real. And like,
Yep.
I mean, it's a big deal. You're not alone in that, and you're fresh on this. So the grieving is a process, and it is a kind of a process of grief here that you're going to be going through. So,
Right.
um,
Right. Absolutely.
what
Absolutely.
how do you feel uh how do you feel right now about what direction you're going now? Are you feeling overwhelmed? Do you know what the next steps are for you?
So that's kind of where I'm at now. It is a little overwhelming trying to figure out, how do we, how, what are the next steps? Because he's already in speech and occupational therapy and has been in those.
Yeah.
So of course, the psychologist, that's their first steps. They want to give you, they're like, well, let's figure out as far as therapies are concerned. So because he's already in those are, two things that we already have down, but we are supposed to be meeting with his early interventionist to start talking about if ABA is one of the things that we're going to tackle next or get into. So
Yeah.
it's just taking it a day at a time and just trying to understand what exactly we need to do
Let
next.
me are you okay if I run down the my advice that I give parents? Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
And for those that are new here, let me give a little bit of my background. So I serve as a CEO right now in a company that provides services to people with autism throughout the state of Utah. I'm a board certified behavior analyst, and I got two kids with autism of my own. And I feel like with the place that you are at right now, um, Chloe, is that you are going to be fed so much information, and you're never going to feel like you're doing enough for your child. And I want you, like, my advice to you as I go through. There's 5 points that I want to give you, and the whole point of this is to protect your time, protect your resources, and make sure you focus on those things that are going to have the biggest impact. So, the first thing that I recommend in this autism journey is you need to build your village. You need family, you need friends, you need, if you're married, you need your spouse on board. Are you married?
I am.
Okay. How's your spouse handling all this? Are you guys a good team with this? Are there any concerns there?
There are some concerns for me just because I feel like even after he received his diagnosis, I still feel like I'm giving him time because it
Of
is, like
course.
I said, it's new for him as it is for me as far as the diagnosis is concerned. But like I said, this is something that I have felt deep down inside for a long time. So I think that
Yeah.
it's something that I kind of just needed the validation for, but already kind of knew. For him, I don't think that he ever believed our son was autistic. And I think even though he has received this diagnosis, he still is in the stage of doesn't want to believe that he is autistic.
Yeah. Yeah. I see this a lot, Chloe. I see, and like, give him time. But also there are some things that you can do to help him. It's important that, because you can't do all of this on your own. I would say even more important, even top priority over getting into therapy, is making sure that your husband is a helpful part of your village that is going to support your child. And like, he doesn't have to like do anything special or accept anything or say anything about his future. But was he there at the evaluation? Did he talk to
He
the
was.
psychologist at
He
all?
was.
Oh,
And it was
good,
he
good, good,
was and
good.
it was very interesting because the psychologist and there was a couple of doctors there that did the whole testing and we kind of when they stepped out to, collaborate together and discuss his testing, me and my husband sat in the waiting room and we kind of talked about, well, what do you think that they're going to say? Like what do you think the verdict is going to be, right? And my husband was just like, "Oh, they're just going to say that he's just delayed. That continuous therapies, he's delayed. It is what it is."
Yeah,
And I was like, I looked at him and I said, "They're going to come back and say he's autistic,
yeah,
just from us watching, the whole testing and everything." And I knew, like I said, I've done a lot of research. I've heavily prepared myself for the testing. I kind of knew, like, I've looked at the testing as far as like the on TikTok, what testing looks like and what
yeah,
kind of things are going to be asked. And so I knew what my son does. I know what he doesn't do. I knew all of this stuff.
yeah,
But again, that boils down to me being a stay-at-home mom with my child who is I would call myself the primary parent, right? Because I'm with him
Yeah.
a lot more than his dad is. So I see all of these things a lot more often than he does. So
Yeah.
for me, it was like I said, more validation. But yes, he was there and surprised by the results. But like I said, still in the sense of, I think that there is a big misconception, or there's this thing that goes around where people are saying that, the kids aren't really autistic these days. There's just, everybody is just being diagnosed. Everybody is just being doctors are just saying whatever to diagnose children.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no.
No.
What comes with the evolution of science, as we all know, more research, more findings.
Yep.
That's why more people are diagnosed, in my opinion.
Yeah. The diagnostic criteria expanded in 2013, and now they're screening every child at 18 months and 24 months in their pediatric visits. And so a lot more screening, we're catching it a lot more. But I want you to know there's one thing that I see quite often, and I'm not saying this is what you're going through, but if you are, this will apply, or if anyone listening is, this will apply, that a lot of times when the spouse hasn't quite accepted the diagnosis, and it's the husband, and the mother is a stay-at-home mom, she can feel this almost guilt or this pressure from the spouse that the delays are caused by you. And I really I hope you know that you did nothing to cause your child's autism. And this is something that is the way that your child's brain developed. It is not you being a bad parent. And accepting the diagnosis, and you can share this with him, that accepting his diagnosis accepts that he needs support, and that this isn't due to too much screen time or the way that you discipline or the way that you parent, or you giving him vaccines, nothing like that. This is just the way that he is. And a lot of parents need to hear that. So I want to make sure, first of all, you hear that, but you do need a village. I see quite often that that spouses, when autism enters a home, the unfairness and inequities in relationships become a lot more clear and transparent. This is why a lot of marriages can struggle when there's a child with disabilities or autism in the home. Something my parents, or my family has done, something that me and my wife have done recently, is we got this deck of cards. I don't know, anyone in the chat, have you guys seen these? The Fair Play deck of cards. Put in the chat yes or no if you've seen these. It's really cool. So what this is it's a huge deck of cards. There's hundreds of cards, and you are able to go through and sort who is in charge of what mental load in the home. Because when you have a child with autism, everything is more work now. All these therapies, all the financial aspects, everything increases. And so there's little things that make it so you don't even realize that you are doing everything until you look through these cards. And so I think a lot of people should go through these. There's things like, okay, who is over, let me give some examples here. Who's over middle of the night comfort for their kids? Who gets up with the kids at night? And then you put it in the chat. Are you in a rush? Are you okay if I do a little activity with the chat for a minute while you're up here, Chloe?
No, not at all. I'm
Okay.
perfectly fine.
These are the Fair Play cards, okay? I'm going to read some, and if this is you, I want you to put me in the chat, okay? So who in your household is, either put me or put spouse, okay? Who is in charge of middle of the night comfort for your kids? It's a big one. Who is over memories and photos? Who's in charge of managing all the photos and tracking memories for your house? I'm seeing a lot of me's. I'm also seeing some split. That's great. It's really good. And some say spouse. Let's see here. What about... What about helping children with their grooming and wardrobe? Who does that? And some of these are kind of interesting. Who's over gifts? Who prepares all the gifts for the family? Who prepares the gifts? Who's in charge of asking or answering the kids' hard questions? My son, my 10-year-old, here's an example of this. My 10-year-old yesterday had maturation program at school. Came back, had questions, wanted to talk about things. Who in your household is responsible for talking to the kids about some of these hard things? Who's in charge of communicating with your kids' teachers? Who talks to the kids' teachers? Let's see. Who's in charge of weekday breakfast meals, making sure that the family's fed weekday breakfasts? Who's in charge of meals for the kids' school lunches? Who, pays the school and is in charge of making sure that the accounts are all paid or packing their school lunches? And we can go through more of these later if anyone ever wants to. This is the Fair Play deck, and it is just a good way to really make sure that the mental load, like a lot of these things aren't like physically demanding that you're going to be doing all day. They're just the little things that occupy space in your brain. And as an autism family, those discrepancies between the inequities that happen among couples become a lot more salient. And you really need to prioritize making sure it's not about keeping score. It's about making sure that, there's a somewhat even mental load that we're all carrying. Anyway, the deck of cards, I might have added it to my Amazon cart or Amazon list. I don't really know how the Amazon list thing works, but check my bio and you can find the cards. It's the Fair Play cards. We like to go through these. It's a fun little exercise that gets you thinking. Anyway, Chloe, thank you for letting me go on that little rant. I've been thinking of talking about this for a while and I hadn't. So the first thing is build your village. You need support, not just your spouse, but family, friends. The second is get clarity, get your diagnosis, which you have. The third is building your care team. And this is kind of where you're at, is how do we build a care team for our child? I recommend 4 frontline therapies that you should consider. And those 4 therapies for your child are ABA therapy, speech therapy, occupational therapy, and if someone with autism can communicate fully, typical mental health therapy, having a therapist. And so probably the therapist doesn't apply to your 2-year-old. But those other 3 are some of the main therapies. Some of the difference, do you feel like you have a good understanding of the difference between speech, OT, and ABA?
So ABA is new to me. I was speaking with his occupational therapist the other day a little bit about ABA. And I'm not sure too much about ABA. I know she said that ABA is typically geared towards children with autism who I guess are needing a lot more support. I don't know if that's true. But she didn't dive too deep into it. Like I said, it's something we have to talk about with his early interventionist. She said she'd give us more information. So I'm not too sure about that specific
Let me break
therapy.
it down for you. So ABA therapy is the highest funded therapy for people with autism. I say highest funded because you can get up to 40 hours per week of one-on-one care for your child. What they're able to do with that time is they can focus on communication, they can focus on skills, they can focus on problem behavior reduction, but general development of your child. And so there's a lot of overlap between OT, speech, and ABA. But ABA, the model is that there's like a clinician. That's what I am, a board certified behavior analyst. They're the clinician. They have thousands of hours of experience, but they're not the one working with your kid. Your kid gets like a technician, like a paraprofessional. They're called a registered behavior technician, RBT. And they work with your kid one-on-one for the up to 40 hours a week. Now, I'm not saying your kid needs 40 hours a week, but typically the more hours you do, the more goals they can work on. And a lot of times they do it through play, and kids love it. My kids love ABA therapy. And so it's like they get to go, they get to play, and a lot of clinics have fun playgrounds and toys, and it's just a lot of fun, but they have a one-on-one person there, and it can also be in your home that they can work on those skills with your kid. And so occupational therapy can do a lot of that as well, but their main focus is on sensory needs and helping your child meet their sensory needs. The speech therapist is expert on communication. They know a lot more about communication than ABA therapists do, but it's a little bit different because ABA therapy has a lot more time available for the actual therapy. So I recommend, if you're like your kid's 2, is he communicating? Does he have much language?
No, he says about 5 words. Other than that, and I think those are more so the words that he uses are things, like for example, Elmo. He says Melmo.
Oh,
So
yeah.
like they're like little things that when like mama, for example, he says mama, but it's not in the appropriate way, right? Like he doesn't realize, oh, I'm mama. It's because he's heard mama.
Yeah.
So he's not using his 5 words. I would say necessarily all 5 of them appropriately.
Good. Okay, so your child is the perfect candidate for ABA therapy. I mean, we have, if your kid starts getting high quality ABA therapy before the age of 3, they have somewhere between 95 and 99%. If they're nonverbal now, they have a 95 to 99% chance of being fully conversational in their future.
Oh, awesome.
And so like it is profound. It is significant. I'm not trying to sell like a miracle cure, because this is 40 hours a week for possibly years. Like this is not some simple magic fix. This is hard work. It's hard for your kid. It can be a sacrifice for the parents, but insurance covers it. So the thing that you're going to need to know is that you're max out of pocket for your insurance. Do you have health insurance?
Yes.
Okay. Your max out of pocket is going to be met every year that you're doing ABA therapy, if you decide to do it. Don't let that cost deter you. If you can't afford it, ask questions to different ABA companies and ask it which ones have financial aid programs, because a lot of them will help cover the cost of your portion that you can apply for. So go for ABA. But this is the third part of this autism journey, is building your care team. Now the fourth is more about the like learning and advocating and like trying to find all the little things that could help your child. If you notice, I don't put that one first. I don't know. Have you been bombarded with people trying to tell you how to help your kid? Do you see all the ads on TikTok of supplements, detoxing, diets? Do you see all that, or not yet?
Not really, actually.
Good. It's gonna come, and I want to reassure you that you don't need to worry about any of that. You're not missing anything. There's not some magic thing happening that, you are not educated about. If you focus on getting these professionals in your life, like that is the most important thing. And once all that stabilizes, then you focus on you learning as much as you can about autism. But the step 3, where you're building your care team, what that does is it makes it so you don't have to be the expert about everything. You don't have to know everything. You don't have to know how to do all the therapies. You can trust that you have the best professionals out there who can help your kid. And so, that part 4 is just you learning and you doing all you can. And then the last part is planning for your kid's future. And you don't have to worry about that yet. So it sounds like right now what you're working on is building up your village, getting your spouse on board, and building up your care team. And you're going to do great. I can already tell you're really grounded. You are learning a lot already about your kid and about autism. And you got him diagnosed so young. He is going to be amazing. He's going to do great. There's going to be challenges, but include us as your village here too. I don't know if you're new here, but we go live every day. So.
Oh, awesome. Yes, I followed you. Thank you so much. I did have a question though for you, Kylan, that I noticed. And I just want to know with your experience with your kids too, is it normal or I guess usual when your child is diagnosed with autism for them to also be diagnosed with other disorders? Because that is what I noticed. My son, he was, autism was the last thing they talked about, right?
Yeah.
The first couple of things that they brought up were like global development delay and then mixed receptive language disorder or something like that.
Yeah.
So, and then they brought up autism last. So I didn't know if those are just kind of what they think comes along with autism or if those are some things that are treated
Those are very
separately.
common. Those are very common. I mean, if your kid is missing a lot of their milestones, they're gonna put down that global developmental delay on there. As your kid starts learning to communicate, a lot of those. Just keep in mind the diagnoses are not like forever. A lot of them might not stick on his. If in
Right.
5 years you have to go and he's fully
Yeah.
conversational and he's caught up, like I
Yeah,
mean,
that was
he's
one of the things that the psychologist wrote in the the diagnosis letter. It said something like they greatly encourage you to get tested like within the next year because obviously since he is so young, things could develop or change the things that he's
yeah.
been diagnosed with. So
Yeah, remember the diagnosis is just a label for a snapshot in time of what your child is like right now. And do they give you a level as well with the
yes,
diagnosis?
two.
Okay, they gave level 2. Both of my kids were diagnosed with level 2 as well. Just know that that is absolute crap. Like the levels don't mean a thing. Every psychologist does it different. There's not a standard way to determine what level means what, and it changes throughout a child's life. So do not let that be your child's identity. Don't let it limit your viewpoint on their potential, and just keep fighting for your kid. I mean, you're doing great.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Good luck. Keep us posted on how things go. I appreciate you coming up. Have a good one.
Will do. Thanks.
Thank you. EP Bonner says, I'm choking back tears listening to this. Bless you for helping those who feel lost in the dark. Thank you, EP Bonner. That means the world to hear. Guys, we are talking about autism today. We are answering questions about autism. No question is off the table. You can ask anything about autism. What are some of the things that you're holding back asking about autism that we can talk about? What concerns do you have about autism? What do you want to learn about autism? And let's keep talking. How different is ABA for teens who are high functioning and social skills? Karina, this is such a good question. ABA looks so different for every kid. The key thing with ABA is that it's individualized. It uses the same science. It uses the basic sciences of reinforcement of how to teach skills, but everyone starts at a different place. And so we actually have a clinic that is specifically for teens and adults. And, you might focus on things like dating and relationships and other like life skills that are more applicable to their age. ABA should be age appropriate. So a 2-year-old shouldn't be having to sit at a table for 6 hours, and a 20-year-old shouldn't be, playing with blocks all day. And so it should be developmentally appropriate for their age and for their current development. Oh my goodness. There's a wait list of 14 to 16 months in my area to get diagnosed, plus 12-month wait list for ABA. That sounds very discouraging. And I want to question it. Okay. And I question it. I believe those wait list times, but I don't believe that those are the only options. I'm going to challenge you. Okay. For the person who told me that, I want to challenge you to call around to every psychologist you can find within a 5-hour radius of your home. Do not settle for a 12 to 18 month wait for your child's diagnosis. Do not wait. You take a day off of work and you drive 5 hours to go get your diagnosis. And you within a 5-hour radius, I guarantee you can find someone who can get you in within 3 months. Please, please, please go and get your diagnosis and get it quick. Mental health and autism, any connection? Absolutely, absolutely. There's a lot of anxiety in autism. We see a lot of comorbid diagnoses. And I highly recommend mental health therapy as a frontline therapy tool for people with autism who are able to communicate. Absolutely. Big Barbie says, I suspect my child has autism. We don't have early intervention for detecting autism. How to navigate. Do you live in the United States, Big Barbie? You say you don't have early intervention. It makes me feel like you might not be in the United States, but if you are, let me tell you what I need you to do. You need to go and fill out what's called the MCHAT. MCHAT. If you have a little kid that might have autism, it asks you questions like, does your child point? Does he look where you are pointing? Does he respond to his name? Have you ever wondered if your child is deaf because they don't respond to you? Does your child climb on furniture? There's a variety of questions that are correlated with autism, and it actually does a pretty good job. I think it's a 95% accurate rate of screening for autism. And so go ahead and get a pre-screener done, and then you can coordinate going and getting an evaluation. Are there special mental health professionals for autistic kids? Yes, Tracy Hoffman. So, you just need a therapist that specializes in autism. I'm not going to mention their name because I'm still investigating them, but I know there's an organization that is national that actually has therapists who specialize in autism and can connect you with them. I'm not going to give them their name right now, but you can just research autism mental health therapy. You're going to want to look for a LCSW, most likely is the most common credential for doing therapy. Do you believe it's all in the gut? User, absolutely not. Absolutely not. It is not in the gut. It is not in the gut. The gut is important. Okay, the gut. If your gut is not healthy, you might get tummy aches, and you might not behave as well as you should, or you might complain of pain because your gut is uncomfortable. And, there's connections between behavioral outcomes and gut health. What there is not is there is no link between treating gut health and improving autism symptoms. That is not a thing. There is no general diet that is recommended for people with autism. What we do see is that the moment that you start requiring a special diet of your child, then at that point you are requiring all of your time and effort in something that is not going to be the most beneficial for your child. Nutrition is good. Focus on nutrition. If you focus with nutrition on everybody, do it with your own child. Absolutely. But it's not because they have autism. It's because you want to focus on nutrition. JC says, okay, so can I ask you a question? So then what is it and what do we do? JC, good question. So autism is simply how the brain developed as the child was in utero, prenatally and perinatally. And it's largely genetics. It's about 80 to 90% genetics. And the remaining 10 to 20% is environmental risk factors. And we've identified a lot of environmental risk factors. All right, you guys, this is the time where we like to bring up anyone who wants to just, if you are a regular here, we like to bring up our friends. Lexi, I think I saw you in there. I don't know if you're still here. If you are, oh, yep, there you are. I'm going to accept you in. And if there's anyone else, go ahead and request. If you come in sometimes to my live and you watch and you just want to hang out and talk about how you're doing, go ahead and request up. I'll invite some people up and we can have a good conversation. And we'll just, there we go. Oh, we got Destiny. Oh, this is good. We got a good group up here. How's everyone doing?
Hi, I'm good.
Who's new up here? Let's see. Who have I know? I know Destiny. I know Lexi. I know Autism Family. Let's see. It's just me. Tell me about yourself. Where are you at?
I'm in Arizona, and I have a 2-year-old. Well, now she's 6-year-old autistic granddaughter.
Oh my goodness.
Not diagnosed.
Wow. Okay.
That's part great. Of Arizona are you from?
Did you hear Lexi? She asked, what part of Arizona are you from?
Oh, I'm from Casa Grande.
Oh, I'm in Tucson.
Okay, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
All right, you guys. Well, at this part of the live, we just like to chat about how life is going as an autism parent. Destiny, what's new with you? Anything you on your mind lately?
Oh goodness, what's not? Um, everything. Today I had to have a hard conversation with my wonderful, loving in-laws.
Oh no.
I am, as you know, I don't leave my son with anybody ever. Under any circumstances, I don't leave him with people. My husband and I have not been on a date since my child was born almost 3 years ago.
Gosh.
And our baby, when he was born, he had an infection. He had to go to Children's Hospital. You'll hear him blowing bubbles back there. He was not even a month old at this point, and none of our friends wanted to keep Hudson because there was a sickness in the house. So our only option was take Hudson to Children's Hospital with us and the baby, which really not a good option, or leave him with my in-laws. So I was like, you know what? I have cameras in the house. They can come here and watch him. It's for a couple of hours. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
Well, my mother-in-law ended up leaving to go watch my sister-in-law's kids. And my father-in-law sat him in front of a TV for like 4.5, 5 hours, didn't feed him dinner. And then when Hudson like brought him a book and tried handing it to him, he's nonverbal, so he didn't tell him he wanted him to read the book, but like he was just scrolling on his phone, ignoring him, and that just blew that whole thing up. So they've kind of been like pushy lately about like wanting to support and wanting to bless us, and they're like, let us get you a rental car for drill weekend and all crazy things. And I'm like, look, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I gave you one opportunity to support us when we really needed you to, and you blew that up. One of you left my kid for someone else's kid, and the other one completely ignored him, and that was on camera.
Oh my gosh.
They haven't responded, but it's coming.
I heard someone say like, okay, if you had to leave your child with a man that you don't know or a teenage girl that you don't know, would you pick a teenage girl that you don't know or a man that you don't know? And like 99% of people are like, absolutely a teenage girl. And it's like, I mean, that should say something about our society, that we trust teenage girls more than we trust adult men to take care of our little ones.
Yeah. It's just they really like to act like the golden. Go ahead.
I think because like teenage girls are still a little bit childish, so we know that they'll entertain as opposed to just leaving them in front of the screen.
Yeah. Well, for me, I mean, my biggest worry is maybe a little darker than that, and
much darker.
I will not trust a random man with my kids. But,
yeah.
Destiny, that's a lot to have to go through. I mean, you got to have family that can support, and that's just too bad that they kind of blew it. How long ago was that?
Brody was not even a month old, so it's been like 7 months now. And we've gone to dinner with them. We've been cordial. They've, they're around, like we communicate with them. But as far as like, they're always talking about how they don't get to see the kids. Well, the one time I let you have the kids, you just blew it up. And,
what does your husband think about this?
He's in the same boat that I am. Okay. And a couple weeks ago, his dad came to drop off something for Hudson. He got him like a toy fishing pole or something and dropped it off and left. But while he was here, he was talking about the other grandkids. And I was like, oh, I thought you weren't watching them anymore. And he goes, well, we laid out some ground rules. And I was like, you laid out ground rules? Please enlighten me. He goes, well, it's our house, it's our rules. If we want to spank the kids, we're going to spank the kids. If we want to give them ice cream, we're going to give them ice cream. And I was like, ask me why you don't watch my kids. Bingo.
Oh.
Bingo.
Oh, no one's going to spank my kids.
No.
No one gets to spank my kids. Oh
no.
My gosh.
No, and he knows we don't do that. And it's not my house, my rules. It's my kids, my rules.
Yeah.
While my kids are under your care, my rules should be followed. They're not your kids. It doesn't work that way. You had your chance. You raised your kids. You kind of sucked at it.
Grandparents
it's too late.
A bit. If they want to go get an ice cream cone or something, that's great. But Man,
That's supposed to be the fun part, you know? They
Yeah.
eat cookies at grandma's house and
Yep.
they got to stay up late and they got, you know, all the fun, stupid things like breaking the rules, not like fundamental rules when it comes to disciplining the kids. It doesn't work like
Yes,
that.
it doesn't work like that.
No.
Yes.
100%.
The
I'm
my
like,
house,
if you
my
just
rules
looked me in
is
the face
to
and told me
spoil
you were
them.
going to blatantly disrespect my rules, then no, you don't get to hang out with the kids. And that sucks because I told them today, I was like, we need support. We're drowning over here. Like, I have, if there's a chronic illness out there, I have it. It's awful. And I have a lot of appointments and infusions, and we have 5 days a week therapy. My husband's military. He'll be gone all next week. It is a lot. And I told him, I'm like, we need support, but we feel like we can't get that from you guys. So it's just like, what do you do?
Yeah. Wow. Let's see. I haven't talked to Autism
I
Family
wanna
Travel
say-
yet. Go ahead, Lexi.
I
and
just
then
want
we'll
to
hear
say
from
I'm so
Autism Family
proud of
Travel.
Destiny for putting up your boundaries and
Oh,
for standing
yeah.
up for yourself and your child. I think it's so amazing that you did that. I know it was hard. I think it's harder with family to put limits on them because they are family. But I'm so proud of you for standing up for yourself, standing up for your kids, and putting those limits on them and letting them know the truth of how you feel, because sometimes we try to hide that truth from our family. And sometimes I feel like it's more beneficial if they understand like the full extent of what you go through so that they can understand that this is not easy. It's not as easy as we make it seem, because as parents, we make it seem very easy. A lot of people tell me, oh, you have it so easily. And I'm like, yeah, but you don't see the meltdowns in the stores or at the house, or when he's upset and he can't control his emotions and he's sitting there kicking and crying and screaming. Like, you don't see all of this. So it's nice that you put those limits. I'm really proud of you.
I appreciate that because
I
it's
agree.
it's definitely hard, especially when it's not your direct family. Like it's Eli's family, and we've had issues with them in the past. And he is very, even with me, like and I know that y'all probably won't believe this, but we've never been in a fight. Never.
Wow.
We've been married 5 years, and I take that back. We had one big fight, and that was it. And because he's so non-confrontational, he's so peaceful, he's so calm, he's never raised his voice at me, and which is great in our marriage. But sometimes I'm like, okay, I need you to take over here because this is your family. And if I say this, it's going to sound like it's coming from me and not from you. And it needs to come from you.
Well, his family's allowed to hate you, but they can't hate
yes.
him. So
yes, and they do.
Like,
Does he support you?
Yeah, I mean, like it's not. They don't hate me. They really pretend that they like me. I think the thing is, they've never had anybody like me in the family that's not going to put up with anything.
You're
like
assertive.
You don't get to say those things to me. You don't get to talk that way to my husband. You don't get to, like, and they're not used to that because Eli is so non-confrontational. And now that he's like growing a pair, I'm like, I'm so proud of you. Look at you. And they probably think that I like brainwashed him.
Poisoned him.
Yeah. Well, when we went to get married and like move out, they're super traditional, and we hadn't been married when we got our apartment, and that whole thing blew up. And his mom was like, "You're trying to take my baby. You're trying to take him away from me." I'm like, at the time I was like, he's 24. He's not your baby. This is normal. This is what happens. But it's all my fault, and I'm okay with that. When it comes to my kids, you can blame it all on me. That is okay.
Oh my goodness.
That is a-okay.
So I'm coming from the mother-in-law side. I am a mother-in-law, and my granddaughter is the nonverbal 6-year-old. I tried to tell my daughter-in-law, hey, I think Cameron is autistic. She basically told me, you don't know what you're talking about. She's 2 years old. She's still learning. And I went to my son, and my son said, Mom, you are not Cameron's mom. You cannot tell my wife anything about our daughter. You're not her mom. And I said, but I was in school learning about autism, and I was taking care of autistic children. I was a caregiver for autistic children, mostly in the teens. Anyhow, no matter what I did or what I said in the best interest of my grandchildren, my daughter-in-law did not like that. And so I would tell my son, I said, look, it's different cultures. I understand that. We're coming from the Hispanic side. He's coming from the Filipino side / white side. I don't know how you would. Anyways.
You're good.
we all used to live together. I bent over backwards for my daughter-in-law because I did have a horrible mother-in-law. And so when I became pregnant with my son, I made a promise to him while I carried him that I would not be that kind of mother-in-law. And I feel because I bent over backwards for my daughter-in-law that she took it as me being submissive and she could do whatever she wanted to me or to my husband or she has no relationship with any of my son's family members, any of us. And I didn't notice it until I don't know how to explain it until I started speaking up for my granddaughters. And I kept telling her,
Well,
don't you think that that what you're teaching the girls is a little beyond their age? They're not going to be able to relate to kids their age because you're rushing them to grow up. She's dressing my 7-year-old granddaughter, the one that's not autistic, in teenage clothing, already wearing makeup, already short shorts, and she's only 7.
well,
And so
I mean, they're the
I
parents.
kept,
They get to pick all of that stuff. But I am curious, what finally got them to push for the diagnosis? I mean, if
that's
you
the
kind of
point.
first
They
presented
did.
it, what got them to finally jump and try it? Was it a pediatrician or?
I No, I had to threaten them and say, look, if you guys don't get her to, she's not talking. I said, and now she's 6. She still doesn't talk. She doesn't even know sign language. I was teaching her sign language, like food, more, grandma, grandpa, stuff like that. And finally, because I said we used to live together, they asked me to move out. And so we moved out, and I had to threaten them and say, if you guys don't take her to get diagnosed, whether it's autistic or whatever, mentally delayed, whatever it is, I said, she's not in school. So I said, you either get her diagnosed or I'm going to have to call someone on you guys to get her diagnosed. So they took her, and because I told them that, they no longer speak to me. They took her and they said she's not autistic. They don't know what's wrong with her. She is mentally delayed, maybe mentally retarded. And I said, well, what's the next step? And my son does talk to me, and anytime I ask him, he says, we're not talking about her. We're not talking about her. That's not your. We are the parents. I go, I understand that. I said, but you guys went with everything. Like, you didn't go without when you guys were all raised. I said, your kids are always dirty. This is neglect. I said, you not taking her to get diagnosed is neglect.
Look,
I
this
said,
is a very complex family situation, and
yes.
I hear you caring about this child, and I appreciate your input on there, and I mean, it's this dynamic of, when grandma gets involved versus when the parents and all helping out. I'm grateful that you love your child or love this grandchild. I'm glad that they went and got the diagnosis. Oh, for hate speech. Okay.
I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't say the R word. That's technically considered a slur. We'll get a flag. So it's mentally challenged or
Yeah,
intellectually disabled.
that's not a diagnosis anymore. And I know she wasn't using it as a slur. She was probably
Yeah, but
she was
TikTok is
around in the
very
time, and
sensitive.
yeah, TikTok is sensitive to it, and for other people to know, the language on there is intellectual disability or developmental disability. Those or IDDD. It is the MR is not a diagnosis anymore. So.
Okay, I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna switch the subject around because I need to
Yes.
know if anybody else is struggling with this week.
Yes.
Hudson has always been a great sleeper. I mean, he sleeps in till like 8:30, 9 o'clock. I get up, I get coffee in my system, I'm good, and then I can conquer the day. No, he's decided that as soon as the sun opens its eyes, he's opening his eyes, and he is like ready to go. He's screaming, which usually like he'll wake up slowly, he'll talk to himself in his bed. And the last like week he's been getting up between 5:30 and 6. Did anybody else go through, is this a phase or is he going to wake up like this for the rest of his life? Because
Wait, how
I
many
can't
days has this
deal.
happened?
It's been all week. It's been like the last 5 or 6 days.
Okay. I mean, my kid did
Yeah, I went
something
through that
similar. He went through a sleep regression, and he was waking up at 2 or 3 in the morning and then like falling asleep at 4 or 5 in the afternoon. And it got really bad. But I think right now we're in an okay spot. But like it's a moving target. Sleep, you have it figured out, and then man, there's a bad week. But that's not forever. That's not forever. Thankfully, our natural bodies want us to adjust to and keep a good solid sleep routine. But I mean, it's only 5 or 6 that he's getting up, right? You can do that. That's not bad.
Yeah. I'm just one of those people, like, I need to sit and breathe for, like,
Yeah.
because right now his cries are waking me up. I really prefer to wake up on my own at like 6:37, grab a cup of coffee and drink it, and then get him up. Because he's also upset because typically he'll walk into the kitchen, his breakfast is done, he's got juice, he's got everything he needs. Well, now he doesn't, because I'm like, son, I just opened my eyes 5 seconds ago. Your waffles are not done yet, and he's upset all morning. We've just been having a rough start to our mornings, and then he's screaming. So then the baby gets up.
It wakes up the whole house. It wakes
Yes.
up the whole house. I haven't given Autism Family Travels a chance to talk at all. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Can you hear me? Because I have a headset on.
Yeah, we hear you great. What's new with you?
Okay.
What's been going on?
Planning our trip to Portugal this August. We're going to Portugal and Spain, so we're doing a lot of that. I'm so excited. We go back every 2 years. My in-laws have a house in northern Portugal, so we're very fortunate.
Remind me your child with autism, how old they are. Are they an adult or a teen? I can't remember.
He is 19 years old.
Okay.
He's the love of my life. He was diagnosed early on, 2 months shy before his 3rd birthday. He started off as being nonverbal. He used to elope. Pull-ups to the age of 7. We had home ABA 4 times a week, 2 hours a day, until it dwindled down until he was 13. He continued with school ABA until I would say about a year ago. He's now in the 12 plus program. He's a kid. Like I said, he was nonverbal. Last year for his IEP meeting, he was up there and he presented what his needs were. So yeah,
wow, that's amazing. And going back to Destiny's question, how has he slept throughout his life? Has he always been a good sleeper? Is he sleeping now? How's your kid sleeping?
Oh, he loves to sleep. I have to wake him up. He does love to sleep.
Okay.
Waking up my autistic child is my biggest fear. Like, if I hear something in the middle of the night, I hope it's a ghost and not my child waking up.
I think when they're little, because there's so much, like it's all the running around for therapies and this and that, and that when they go down to sleep is the only time when us parents have to breathe.
Yeah.
So we enjoy that time. So I totally get what Destiny is saying about the morning time routine. It's harder because now he's up and she's not fully awake and ready, and like the mental capacity that we have to deal with this on a day-by-day basis, it gets messed up when your children wake up too early. Yeah. And I totally get that, because my son was doing that for a week. He was waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning and just up all day and nonstop and always wanting something, food, something. Like, it was always something. And it was like, whoa, dude. I talked to his pediatrician. We got him on some medication, and now he sleeps through the night again. So I'm finally getting my hours back. So maybe, Destiny, you might want to talk to the pediatrician about that and see if you feel like it's a big concern.
Yeah, I talked to her. She told me to try like a magnesium lotion or a magnesium spray on his feet and legs. And so I'm gonna give that a try, because I do have some of that already. I just haven't used it. So I'm gonna try it and see if it helps out. Last night I was like, okay, I'm gonna outsmart him. I'm gonna put him to bed late and he's gonna wake up late. No, I put him to bed late and he still woke up at 5:30 this morning.
Oh, no.
So no more doing that, because I lost even more sleep.
No.
Which is why I'm like never on the late lives, because like I have an 8-month-old and a 2.5-year-old. So like as soon as my son closes his eyes, I'm closing my eyes, because my 8-month-old is going to be up in a couple hours. I'm going to take advantage of every little nap I can get in the middle of the night.
My kids are interesting because they don't cry when they wake up. They just stay where they're at and wait for us to go get them. And so
Okay, I need whatever voodoo you
and so
have.
I don't know
Sprinkle that over
why
here.
that happens, but like my kid was up at 2 a.m. and up from 2 a.m. to 7:30, and we had no idea. He made no noise at all in his room. He just went and he has a bookshelf and he read books for 5 hours. And and
Do you think maybe it's
That's a
because that
dream.
you have that light in his room and you got
yeah.
him used to maybe like this is not a time that you get out and
Yeah,
he's like aware of
he
that
knows
now?
it's not. Yeah, he knows he's not going to get out to go have fun. That he's going to be stuck in his room. So that could be it. I don't know. I feel bad honestly because if I would have known, like I would have gone and made him more comfortable, tucked him in, maybe got him a drink. Maybe he was thirsty or something. But I had no idea, and I just woke up at my normal 6 a.m. time and saw that he was awake. So. Yeah, kind of weird. But hey, I'll take it. It means I sleep pretty good at night. So,
Yeah.
And repetition is very important for our kiddos.
yeah,
So
yeah.
Yes. I mentioned this earlier. I'm wondering, Lexi or even Kylan, if any of you know if there are any like regulations about this. But I was interviewing for this remote position to do some sales and marketing for this software company, which I've been doing for years before I decided to stay home with Hudson. But the sales part was too much because I was constantly on calls. Anyways, I told them, I was like, yeah, this sounds amazing. They were ready to offer me the job, but I did disclose to them, I'm like, my son has therapy Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday at like 3:30, 4 o'clock. So I'll have to leave an hour early, but I'll be happy to come in an hour early or, work through my lunch hour. It's not going to be like a hindrance. And they were like, yeah, we just have to make sure that you're here during work hours. We can't excuse that. And I'm like, what? Like, if my work is done, why does it matter? I've never, and it's a salaried position. It's not an hourly, so I don't understand that either.
Oh,
That
that's
just really,
ridiculous. That is ridiculous. As far as legal, here's the thing: is if it was your autism and your therapies, you would have more rights here. But the thing that would be at play here is FMLA, Family Medical Leave Act, which does there are protections making it legal that you are protected to go take care of your kids' therapies or take care of someone who has disabilities. However, that only takes effect after you've worked somewhere for a year. And so that doesn't really apply here. Like honestly, I don't think that there's anything you can do about this one. It's just, it kind of speaks to that
yeah,
company.
legally
I don't think
you
I would want to
can't.
work there anyway, now knowing that
Yeah.
they are the way that they are, but
Yeah.
that was still tricky because it's hard living on one income as it is, but I also love digital marketing. And right now for like local businesses, I'll build their websites or I'll create their business cards or I'll do things like that. But I really love software and doing the marketing and all the nerdy stuff. But I also love sales because I can be hands-on with people. But I do know that the sales part of it is why I had to stop in the first place, because I made the mistake of becoming the top sales representative for the company that I was working at the time. And so by the time I went on maternity leave and came back, I wasn't making nearly as many sales. I didn't have time to be on the phone because they were expecting 100 to 150 cold calls a day, which at the time was fine, but that's a lot. And I was like, this is way too much. I'm having to like feed Hudson while I'm calling clients. That was a lot. So if anybody works from home, I would love to know how you juggle that with your children, or if they're younger or older.
Companies are really losing out, not looking for autism moms to be their employees, because like the moment your kid is in ABA therapy for most of the day or in school most of the day, and you have an autism mom that's willing to work for you, I mean, there is no one out there that works harder than autism moms. I mean, like oh my goodness, it would be such a like that should be a huge plus for a company to be like, oh my goodness, like you have availability during the day and you have this experience of like 24/7 taking care of a child with disabilities. If you can do that, you can do anything. So
yeah, I think there just needs to be a flexibility and an understanding, because if you have employees that are working remote, you need to understand they're not sitting at their desk all day. Whether they have kids or not, they're going to go do the dishes. They're going to go make themselves a sandwich. They're probably going to go take a shower. They might even turn on an episode on Netflix in the living room. Like, if you have remote employees, chances are they're not sitting at their desk all day anyway. Autism parents just have to be more transparent about it because, hey, I've got therapy. I've got to step away for an hour. But as long as all my work is done, that shouldn't matter. But flexibility is something that a lot of companies don't want to provide.
Flexibility is something that I've had an issue with too. I've been trying to get a job as well, but there's nothing that I can find that's flexible enough for me to take my son to his ABA therapies and stuff. Next school year, I think is going to be a little bit easier because of the fact that I'll have a little bit more hours in the day because he has to go to school the full day, and I'm changing his ABA to like an after school ABA.
Yeah.
So that it can be like different because he's going to need different um, help next year. But I think for now, I just kind of have to make it work with like my one income on my household because um, it's so important for them to get their therapies and like I know it's super hard and super difficult. Believe me, I'm a single mom.
Yeah.
But you kind of just got to figure it out just for this little bit of time that they need the extra help sometimes. And like you said, you do freelance work, so at least there's some ways that you can move it within it. But to be honest with you, that's why I quit my last job. I was a teacher. I had to quit because I couldn't do both 8 hours a day with other children and stuff like that when I know that my time needed to be dedicated to my child. So I think maybe that's like an option if you can avoid it just for now, just for the early years. I think it's beneficial if you can do it. And if not, then maybe there's a company that you can work for that will be a little more flexible within your day. Just finding that company is probably going to be a little harder.
There are
I
not
was
a
just
lot of autism resources or organizations in Alabama, but I do want to find one to get involved in because one, I think they'd be the most understanding, but I would also feel like I had purpose there and passion because yes, I do have passion for software sales, but how awesome would it be to be able to get paid to make a difference in a life that I'm actually living? Like I'm walking in the exact same footsteps as these people. And so that's what I'm hoping to do. Obviously, I can't afford to start one myself, but I hope to get involved in some organizations here because there's got to be some change in Alabama. This is ridiculous, especially like, and I'll probably target military families as well because TRICARE they do not cover like safety beds. They do not cover weighted vests. They do not cover ABA entirely unless you're on Prime and you want to be seen on base. They don't cover certain therapies. It's really sucky for military families. So I'd like to get involved in that way too.
Yeah. There's a lot of ways to do it. But you're right. The remote jobs tend to go fast. Like at my company at Nova Sports, the autism services company, we've hired like one or two remote employees, and like one job application, we get over 1,000 applications in a single day. Like people are
how do
going
you filter
crazy
through all of that?
I mean, you don't. You just yeah.
Cross your fingers and hope for the best.
Yeah. But I mean that's rough. I mean it's unfair. This is one of those things that we don't like. It's not we're not very transparent about, but the financial impact that having a child with disabilities has on a family is profound. And like it really does it interferes with your ability to find a good job, to be able to go and have the freedom. I mean, any kid does that, but like not every kid has therapies you have to go back and forth all day, like, or specialized care or things like that. So you guys, I do need to head out. We are at 2 hours and 10 minutes. We went long today, and we'll see if I go back live tonight. I don't know. Sometimes if I'm feeling crazy, I do. But I appreciate everybody. Please go spend some good quality family time with your family, with your kids with autism. And I'm going to see you guys either later tonight or tomorrow. Thank you guys. Oh, and a reminder, tomorrow on Sundays, it is not the consistent, 10 a.m. to noon Eastern or Mountain Time. It is later in the day usually that I go live on Sundays. So, all All right, everybody. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.